at home, right?
Yes, but he's not, I think he's.
He's not here, okay, all right, so I'm happy to call this meeting to order at 5:31. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Yes, any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, unfortunately, we need to add the select board, basically, I heard back from Madison County Regional Planning today, the municipal planning grant that we're applying for, I've written and is in process, but their, estimate went from 17 to 19,000 based on their rate adjustments and stuff like that. She's sorry, but basically, we're in for 10%. So
Okay.
we need a select board, approval of the additional $200, to make the max 10% of the total cost of the grant. And all that would happen in FY 27, so it is in the budget, it is a line item. And
Okay.
it's been updated in this.
Okay, public comment. Perfect.
I'd like to make sure that when you're going through the budget, that you do the public comment after each line item, instead of doing like a whole page or two before the public comment, like the agenda says.
We certainly can consider that. I think that that's gonna, I think if we are keeping track, if people are keeping track of their, of the questions that you have, then we can go back and be a little bit more efficient on how we get through it. We'll certainly kind of take that under consideration. Any other public comment? Yes.
I would like to see at the next select board meeting, a report of the Janice parent boundary issue, what is happening with that. We just haven't heard any report of it. They're having meetings or it should be on the agenda.
Anything else? Okay, so last week we started with, again, I think we're gonna try to run it similarly. I think we were pretty efficient last week. If anybody came up with questions after the meeting, we'll certainly happy to address those. But let's start at the top with the revenues. Yeah, Kyle, is there anything that jumps out that we should pay attention to?
Yeah, the, couple of things come to mind. One, that the delinquent tax collector, has been budgeted, the delinquent tax penalty and stuff had been budgeted in previous years. And that's not part of that, not part of the budget. It's really hard to peg that number and
Yeah.
shouldn't be relied on for any kind of offsetting revenue. Not to mention that the penalty is the delinquent tax collector's salary.
So, but does it have to be acknowledged anywhere that she's collecting and that she's collecting that money and the interest and the penalty, and that is
Just the penalty, the interest.
okay? So she's collecting the penalty. Do we have, does she just get that directly, or does there tax implications or anything?
Yeah, she's processing the payroll.
So do we need to have that in the budget as an offset somewhere?
So in the office or administrative salaries, like childcare contributions and all that, I picked a number to add into that, so that number is inclusive. The
Okay.
cost to the town of the employer's portion of the taxes and the childcare contribution is inclusive of the delinquent tax collector. And I picked an average number in the last couple of years.
Okay, good, thank you.
In terms of expense. Another one that's interesting, and who knows if it's gonna last, is the late homestead penalty, which is, right there, 10-6-00-100-009. 8% is the late homestead filing penalty, and that's revenue to the town. That's put onto the tax bills that is then revised and sent out to the late homestead filer, and so that's revenue to the town. Now, I broke it out this year, that actual number of 1440, that's the actual late homestead penalty, so that's extra revenue for the town. I put in $200 as a budget line item for next year. It's certainly not something we can be relied on. It's really, revenue is really difficult to peg down.
Yeah,
a lot of those.
100%.
That makes sense. The biggest change, and I think the reason why we're seeing the biggest revenue difference is really, let's see the line number here. I think it's gonna be line 34 almost.
Reappraisal?
Vermont reappraisal payment?
No, sorry, it's a couple down from that. I'm sorry, this was all. Interest income.
Oh, okay.
Interest income, so interest income is, the reserve funds capitalized at about $415,000 in the bank, that's doing the heavy lifting, burning is the interest income. My incomplete understanding really over budgeted the revenue that we received. Technically it belongs to the reserve fund, and so it has been allocated every month to the reserve funds. Thank you, Melissa Davey, for the wonderful spreadsheet, she really helped in terms of creating an easy way for us to track that. It's gonna be a lot easier for us to recognize once the third bank account is set up for specifically the reserve. So the interest income has been reduced from 8,000 to 1,000. And the 1,000 represents probably what the general fund will earn. Again, best guess, the difference between, so like right now, the general fund stands at about, in the bank, we have about $1.3 million in the bank right now. A lot of early tax payments, a lot of folks, a lot of escrows and stuff like that. So we don't owe the school system until November 20th. So we've had $1 million in the bank now for probably a week. So for about a month, we're gonna have $1 million in the bank earning 3.1%. Now, 414,000 is the reserve funds, but the remaining 600,000 of that approximately, guesstimating is the general funds theoretically, until the education payment comes due. And so that's gonna earn interest for us. So I lowered that to 1,000. I think that would be pretty representative of what the general funds actually do. In terms of having that money in the bank, but it is significantly less than last year, and it is appropriate that it's less. A couple of the other revenues items, let's see, DRB hearing fees, zoning building permits, and zoning fines. Those three items, 10, 6, 20, 110, 001, and then 120 and 140. The select board recently changed the zoning fees. So we're charging more for hearings. We're also charging for more for permits, including the most common permits that we see, which are like the certificate of occupancy and compliance. And so we left the permit fees at 1,000, and that's going to probably be a big reason for us to hit. And the DRB hearing fees, if we have 2 hearings, that's the $600. Zoning fines, I left blank. Again, the zoning fines is not a revenue generating item. It's really an item for compliance for the town, for the zoning officer, the zoning administrator to be able to see those zoning regulations enforced. And so it's really, it's more of a big stick, than it is.
Right.
It's kind of a threat more than it is anything else.
Not a lot of teeth in it.
Yeah, well, it has teeth for sure, but we would be low, it would be a lot to take somebody into that. It's usually just used for compliance, and that's the goal,
Right.
get people to get
Right.
Couple lines down from there, miscellaneous highway reimbursement. That's again, the money that we see from Waltham usually. Again, that's a hard number to peg. It really depends on the winter, depends on their usage of the equipment. It depends on all that other stuff. So we had it at 7 this year. We're not even into the winter yet, and we're already at $760. We should see us get close to that 7, but I put it at 6 again, just being a little bit more cautious about my revenue projections than the expense projections. They're just a much tougher number to hit. Or to be accurate. So that leads us basically to the non-tax revenue, the total there of $157,333. It's a $6,700 decrease from last year, mostly again due to the 7,000 single decrease of the interest income. So one of the things under consideration.
I'm sorry, we had a 156,956, it says for. And then 157,333, so it's it shows an increase on this spreadsheet of 377,81. I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay, I might have one. I have one. I swear, I don't change these.
I know.
I'm printing this for you.
Line 56 is the one we're looking at, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it has it as just a tiny 378.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't yeah, that's so the 156 should read 164. That was the non-tax revenue that was theoretically budgeted in the budget last year, or to, just kind of voted on article. I apologize, that should have been up. I don't actually know why it's not. Probably because I didn't create it. I'm trying to make this so that we can print it eventually, in the town report. So, apologies for that. So $164,056 was the agreed upon non-tax revenue in the town report for FY 26. Right now, this budget for FY 27 is showing 157,333.
That's like a big decrease.
Yeah, $6,700. 6722.19. Again, the single decrease of $7,000 pretty much offsets, an increase in revenue.
Right.
Again, I'm being a little bit more cautious about my revenue projections. And I think it's somewhat appropriate, but one of the things that, I think is important to talk about as we get closer to the end of this calendar year is going to be the use or potential use of any surplus that we may have. So the town carried over a surplus from FY 24 into FY 25. Without specific voter approval, surpluses really can't be used. They have to be included and voted on as part of the offsetting revenue. In FY 25, we had a slight deficit, mostly related to the delinquent taxes. We had a huge delinquent tax rate, and so the delinquent taxes, after the adjustment entries have been made by the auditor and everything, fiscal year 25 will show a slight deficit. However, those two numbers added together, the surplus from 24, the deficit from 25, will leave us with a fund balance, the fund balance position of the town at about $19,000, just basically kind of representing that surplus from previous years rolling. It may be worthwhile to consider as adding in for the non-tax revenue portion to use a portion of that fund balance to help offset even a small budget increase, something like $9,000 or $10,000, leaving some in fund balance to continue to roll forward. My projection for FY 26 right now is pretty good in terms of having a surplus at the end of the year, but again, we're only
And we don't know for
out of FY 26. Like this year, you mean
Yeah.
this tax year? Yeah, we don't know the delinquent picture. Although the delinquency rate right now, we're doing a lot better on this date than we were on the same date last year.
Okay.
We're ahead in terms of taxes, so. But this will be something that I think the select board should consider, and I will propose the select board as we get closer to the end of the calendar year. So 2 months to go in calendar year 25, 2 months ago in the beginning of fiscal 26, I think it would be too early for us to kind of say, yeah, let's use this for plus or something. There might be more reason for us to say no or yes.
Okay. Okay, that brings us, does anybody here have questions about revenues?
No. I like your conservative estimates. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any lower, if it comes in higher, that's great.
Any folks have questions about the revenues? Yeah, Melissa.
Last time we talked about. Sure.
Mhm.
That the traffic fines of 1,200 is kind of the offset, but the revenue we get from them coming around, fines come in, and then another. That's.
Mhm. Thank you. Any other questions about the revenues?
To Melissa's point, 10-6-15-140-001, traffic and civil fines, which represent that portion of the fines that we get, someone's having a share of patrol. We budgeted at 1,200, we're about 500 right now in terms of actual revenue. We budgeted for 1,300 in fiscal year 25. We actually ended up the year with 1,700.
Okay.
So you know, it kind of depends on them and the speeders. I did, just as a, somewhat apropos of that, but, we conducted a traffic study on West Road when we had when we had Hampton Road shut down for culverts. We wanted to see what it was like on West Road, during that period of time. So it was a 2-week period, encompassing some time before, the actual days of the detour, and then some time after. The top speed on West Road during that period of time was 84 miles an hour.
Oh, my goodness.
You can record
The
that?
average, the average speed was like almost 40. West Road saw more than 3,000 cars in that time frame. On an average day before the detour, there was about 80. During the detours, it was 2,000.
80 cars a day? Wow.
And well, that's not even cars, so that's 80 vehicles. And that vehicle, I don't have it in my brain yet, which one is, you know, double axle or whatever, 80 vehicles a day. During the detour was almost 2,000, it was a little bit more than 2,000. But yeah, 84 miles an hour was the max speed they recorded, and I thought that was pretty amazing. So, yeah.
Is that the one we dug out of the ditch?
That, no, that's Hopkins Road.
No.
She goes flying over Danger Hill on Hopkins Road, and I pulled 3 people out of the trees there.
I didn't have a time stamp, but I assume that was late.
I would imagine. Yeah, so I think one of the things we had, as we look back on the different expenditures that we had talked about, was whether or not we wanted to reduce, if we wanted to keep the same number of hours with the sheriff, or if we wanted to reduce it. I'm not sure that I'm comfortable saying we don't want to have sheriff in town at all. I think that that's just asking for trouble.
Even coming in, this is not the right wording, but like under budget, right? If they're contracted so many hours, then they don't end up providing coverage for that. Is there a way to kind of look at and average that out?
So I mean, they're here 4 hours a week, and that's what they bill us for.
Got it.
And then you said something that the mileage is being rolled into that now instead of billing us extra for mileage or something.
So what Sheriff Elmore had proposed was, bundling it a little bit more, so giving kind of a grace period. I think they're like a 15-minute on either end, so basically a half hour each shift and be added in as opposed to being separately charged.
Mhm.
So it's like they're eating that 15 minutes on either end to get to Canton, I think was his point. I would say, you know, they know how much we've contracted them for, and they probably come close to it. They probably try and get that.
Okay.
number. Yeah, they don't go over. I mean, you might, unless there's something, and then there's a lot of other grants that the sheriffs and these are paid by. Like he said, there's one on 22A that's with the states, and it's a whole separate thing. So anytime he's doing enforcement on 22A, even if it's in pay, it's not necessarily part of the pay. So, you know, they're not necessarily charging for emergencies. They're charging to come here and do their traffic enforcement. So they know the number that they have, and they probably stick pretty close to it, because it would cost them money to have a person here when they were to send a bill to the town, and the town say, hey, you're way over the 8,200.
We're not Nelson necessarily.
No, I wasn't thinking that. I was just, I guess I felt like when he was here presenting meeting before last, he mentioned, and it might have been like specific hours that they were here, right? in town. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, but for some reason I was thinking he said they don't always meet like contract and then make it up later on.
No, he did say something
He
about
said
that.
that he doesn't hit it sometimes, but they make it up next time.
Right.
Yeah, some months are definitely
So
slower.
it's not like 4 hours a week for sure, but it could be 3.5 and then 5.5.
Some months are definitely slower than others, and then the other month.
Okay, that makes sense. I just wasn't sure if there was, we're budgeting a little bit higher than maybe we would have sound like we are, so.
So the 8,200 that is in the budget right now represents, is according to Sheriff Elmo's calculations, 80%. So basically we go from the 16 hours down to 12.
Right.
And that's, so that's 12 hours. He did say that the hours would expand in time of day is his goal here. So maybe it might be, some of those 12 hours might be a little later in the day. or earlier.
Yeah, and I would imagine he's there to hear more frequently in the summer when there's a lot more people here and, you know, fewer people on the dirt roads in the winter. And
Yeah, I was unable to get a hold of him to talk like if there was like a third, I mean, he presented a third option, but I didn't even know, I didn't get a hold of him to talk about like. I mean, their rates are their rates, their hours are their hours, it's pretty much like a kind of a calculation on our part.
I think he said if we could come up with something that he didn't think of, he's open.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Vermont State Police are not accepting any new contracts. For Density PD, definitely not in the mix on offering, that. So,
yeah, for Trans PD is too expensive. And if we went to, I was just thinking like 3.5 hours a week going up to 14 hours a month, it's like, you know, it's about $9,600. So, you know, it's a significant increase.
Can we deputize the constable?
no, there's a lot of rules and liability insurance also. So, you know, right now, us not having a constable with law enforcement power saves our, liability insurance. Because we not liable, we don't
We're not
have an
liable.
employee in the line file, so it's.
Okay. Questions from the board? And this is all updated.
Actuals are all updated as of today, yes.
So we have our working budget is 6,792 to be raised by taxes, which is a 1% increase.
What line?
Or a little bit less.
Are you all the way in the bottom?
Yeah, 307.
All the way at the bottom.
And we can go back and look at any line. I mean, I just think I'm kind of been sifting through the stuff all week, and so.
Yeah, I mean, I showed, I think my calculation right now is 9 this year, municipal operations. Excluding reserve fund, excluding community service, municipal operations is $955,899. I'm showing an increase to $966,091. $10,000 increase.
Where's that?
Sorry.
That's just what I'm showing right now. I don't know if
$10,000.
that's on your. If you
No, we
subtract from the 980, if you subtract 13,000, it's actually, so one of the things I think that might be we can talk about tonight as well is, community service appropriations.
Oh, yeah.
And the reserve funds obviously are gonna be kind of the secondary part of this conversation, and I have that. Did you want to talk about community service stuff?
Yeah, if everybody's done asking questions about this part of the budget, then we can move on to the community service and then move on to the reserve funds. And everybody,
Questions?
yes. We're referring to anything at this point in the budget, yeah, because we looked at the revenues and then we moved on to expenses, which we mostly did last week. And so we thought we'd go back and revisit and see if anybody had questions left over from last week. Sorry if I was unclear.
Files for like have that line item is always being that one.
Oh, yeah, they, yeah.
I don't think that's something.
Yeah.
The animal control one.
Is that animal control, line 150?
$250.
In my opinion, we can, that we don't have a. But what that did was allow me to bring any animal in town to Homeward Bound, right, and just book it in and not pay per animal. They never returned any of my phone calls or emails, this year, and I know that I didn't bring a contract to them last year in my 2 years as dog warden, nor have I delivered any animals to that shelter. So, in my opinion, I don't think that we need that $450.
So then it would just be the owner's responsibility.
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. If your dog is boarded down there, my dog was captured twice. We lived in Middlebury. She got through the electric fence and I paid it as a Middlebury resident.
Yeah, that makes sense, especially with, you know, if we're not, I mean, the data shows that we're not,
not using
you know,
that.
the dogs are, we're not using that 450, we could certainly take that out.
Yeah.
That's great, thank you. Yeah, Kathy?
You're picking up fire again, and 2025, get that.
Still there? I didn't change it on the.
231.
Trying something different this year to make my life a little easier when I generate these drafts. Sorry. Here it is.
Other questions? Yeah, Melissa.
If we were talking about the use of emergency fund for the excavator. I'm just wondering, if the excavator only has $80 in the chairs.
It was for the loader. It was for the loader. Yeah. And I mean, I'm happy to say that the bill came in for the loader through great effort on the part of Rick, in-house stuff. So they brought Munson's earth movers to the town garage instead. We paid a slightly higher labor rate, but the actual overall cost was right. So the cost, the actual what we paid, the original estimate was 5,000. We actually ended up paying Munson's 1,000.
Oh, wow.
It's great. It's a lot of work on, because we got the parts, and we did the, and, we brought in other people to help. Chuck Whiston still has to put in injectors. We bought the injectors, I picked them up from the Milton warehouse or from Milton Cat over in Richmond. I picked them up, so but they're $1,500, and Chuck's labor will be another probably several hundred to put them in. So the loader is still, still accruing some cost, but the
Wow,
steering
that's
wheel
nice.
was 1,000.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a lot, it was a lot of it.
So
But that was that original.
By not transporting,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
It
doubt
was,
that.
that was huge, because we need overweight permits. We need flags.
Yeah, it's a lot. Great, awesome.
And we got for the backhoe, it's not in here, but the backhoe got a new battery box that someone from town gave us a very preferential rate to do welding work for us.
Oh, nice.
Now we're every avenue we're exploring here. We got a couple people in town who are willing to do welding work.
That's awesome. Very good. Other questions?
Mhm.
Okay, well, let's move on to the community grants.
So letters, registered come in.
Mhm.
The select board has an adopted policy, basically, that if it's a place that's asked for money before and been approved, and they're not asking for anything more, then it can just be considered, like it can just be part of it. So, I've got a letter from Tri Valley Transit. Got a letter from, RSVP.
Is Tri-Valley Transport on here?
Yeah, they're, under, and I have AC Transit Resources.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure they're on there.
285, if you're wondering.
Yep, Boys and Girls Club is
Oh.
now we have a new something asking us for money instead of Boys and Girls Club, right?
On the 6th of November, I believe, is when the conversation is happening. Chris Barra, Mayor of Friends, has asked anyone interested, I think, and definitely members of the select boards of the communities surrounding the Friends have historically and traditionally donated to Boys and Girls Club. I think there's a meeting at the Boys and Girls Club, and I think Chris Barra is gonna have that. I can't remember the time.
But it's got like Commodore Club. or
I don't
something.
know.
It's gonna be a locally run thing versus
Yes.
part of Boys and
Right.
Girls.
And I think part of that ask is going to be, you've supported this organization in the past. We'd like to continue asking for your support in the future
Right, so just leave that in the budget.
and just leave it in the budget. I took it out because the decision hasn't been made yet, the meeting hasn't happened, and the select board may have other feelings about that. So, I can't remember the exact time,
But that's good, because that meeting happens before us, like, board meeting. There's like, board meetings the following week, right? Okay, good.
so, yeah,
Okay.
that would be that.
Melissa?
Do you have a petition that X and those, you could do that on, we have to.
Yeah, I'm sure Mark Lipograph will rally something up. Yeah,
It can't just be.
no, it's not just gonna be, yeah. Yeah, it's a donation, so yeah, I'm sure Mark Lipograph will work hard and rally something together. This is just I think it's an agreement in principle, like that, hey, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do the best we can, and this is something.
Yeah, okay.
Um. Also requesting funding Addison County Parent Child Center. Green Up Day. And all these amounts are the same. Prevent child abuse. Which is. Themselves, CAVT. Thought they were on there.
The parent-child center?
No,
Yeah.
different.
No, it's. We're not, I don't,
So maybe that's it.
yeah, I don't think I'd heard of that one, Prevent Child Abuse Vermont.
So this is the letter, and I can read out there are respectfully submits this request to your town as Vermont statewide leader in child abuse prevention. They promote support healthy relationships within families, schools, and communities to ensure that every young person has a safe and happy childhood. To that end, the PCABT requests support to further our work and mission. In 2024, they served 10,000 individuals, almost 11, and reached 218,000 children, teen, and adults through direct services and professional development. And I can pass around this letter.
How much are they asking?
They didn't actually indicate a. So,
Why would you petition a town and not have an amount?
letter from them.
Or let's just maybe ask.
Well, I wonder, I wonder if it's because it's an initial request that we would, and then next year, if we give them a certain amount of money, that they would then request the same amount the following year. Versus letting us be more generous than they would ask for, maybe, the whole idea.
But isn't this kind of like the same concept, like what the parent-child center does and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think that there's probably a lot of overlap amongst these agencies that in the community service category. I mean, there's John Graham and Women's Safe and stuff like that.
And Charter House.
Yeah, Charter House.
Yeah.
It's just they're feeling, I'm sure they're feeling the pinch as everyone is.
Yeah.
But they haven't, from the letters that I've received thus far, they've not. So I can reach out to this person if the select board wants and ask how much they were looking for.
And this is over this is the entire state, not necessarily Addison County.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile to ask them
Sure.
Yeah.
exactly what it
Local
is.
services and stuff. Okay.
You have a bigger budget than we do.
Wait, I mean, have they actually asked them if it's
Yeah, see how local they are.
school district?
So thus far, that's really it for the ones that have contacted me. I'm getting one from, I know, somebody else reached out to me, I think, the Agency of Aging, or Age Well, what used to be called Age Well, they reached out to me, but they haven't sent. anything, so.
Okay. Does anybody have questions about the voter approved community service grants? Yes, it's okay.
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate again that the community services are basically, the select board they don't have anything to do with it. It's just, if an organization comes to you and they give you a petition, 5% it comes out.
Right.
Yeah.
The only reason I mentioned the select board is because the select board had that policy just saying that they don't do petition. If they have, if the same organization, but yeah, not a new one, yeah, no,
Right. And it also, will lump in. I think when we, consider this, we just consider that we vote on these as one lump sum, not as individual agencies, just for efficiency reasons, which is how we changed that. Yes, Kathy.
That was the question. Are we going to be able to vote on this individually?
It's a lot of work. It's been discussed.
One of
It's
administrative.
Even the tabulator, is it really that hard?
It-
She can answer that.
we have not done this with the tabulator. That decision was made, but it's still a lot more ballots, versus, I mean, I guess it would be more of um, a logistical question.
You know, it would add,
I mean, it's gonna add to what we need to program into the tabulator.
it would add to the tabulated cost, it would add to the cost of the ballot itself. It's 34 cents right now for a face page of the ballot, single face, it's 34 cents, and if we separated all of these, we would probably add at least a face. So that's, 30 cents added on to the cost of however many ballots that we'll order. In terms of tabulating them, it probably works really well until it doesn't, and then you need to. So, there's
Right.
pluses and minuses to it. I mean, there's very few towns that are doing it individually anymore.
Yeah.
I know in Ferrisburg, we do it as one.
And I
Well,
think-
it's on the floor, so.
And I think that we were, kind of late to the game in terms of taking it from being individual. I mean, it's been in the last, but I did it for at least 3 or 4 years where we counted them individually. So that's, we've only been,
Weren't they all on one page, so?
yeah, but we wouldn't be able to do that on the tabulator. The way the tabulator set up, it would have to be spread out more. Jamie?
So I've been to a number of the elections,
Mhm.
we've never had any issue with having this. All the things you might be concerned about.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried that the tabulator is going to be it's just more of the programming and the cost of the ballots that's going to add to our election costs. But-
Cost of it, also,
Well, if there was a disagreement between the tally sheet,
I understand, but in all the elections that have been part of it, there hasn't been this. So I just.
Yeah. No, heard, thank you.
Do you remember what year? I mean, I remember them being individually, but when did we go to them all being? Do you remember?
Not specifically, probably, I would say, I just remember sitting with Diana Raphael doing. And that's the only thing we did the whole night and we were laughed,
Was for this.
was for that. Now again, putting it in the tabulator, it's obviously gonna be much quicker. It is gonna change our reconciliation of the tabulator as well. That's still gonna take a lot more time just because what it spits out the tape. And it's this, you have to reconcile all of the parts and you write in, all of the things that go along with using the tabulator, which isn't necessarily complicated. It's just gonna, it's time consuming. It's just gonna create a bigger. I guess it's the question of, is it worth to do every single one individually? And I'm not saying it is or it isn't. Or if it's worth, people are used to it being all lumped together at this point. And
What's your preference?
my concern is, okay, my concern is that people will not vote because it'll feel like a lot.
You have to look through every single line.
And not everybody is looking at every single thing. They're hitting all the big ones and I'm not saying I agree with either side. I'm just saying, I think that I remember seeing a lot of just not voted because either they didn't have any skin in the game, it wasn't something they knew about, and so they just didn't vote. Mary?
What about the option of everything that's been on the ballot previously being online and anything doing a self-plan?
Oh, I like that. Thank you for that suggestion. Melissa?
I'm getting more radical.
You, wait. What?
Like, that I'm not for the community service.
Mhm.
But what if we gave people a list and said, choose who you wanted to donate personally? instead of, because some of these are so small. And given all the numbers, it's not getting 13,000 overall from our town. I sometimes wonder why are we doing this at the minute level?
It isn't.
I think it's, go ahead, Jamie, and then.
To show that music was again is right.
And it's budget building. They know how to, it helps them build a budget because it's money that they can count on. Yeah,
I will say that I think it's just, I can't believe that the town would approve all the requests and stuff. I think it's just that some of the individual voters, they want to exercise their right to vote no. I mean, it will probably.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah.
It will probably still pass, but it gives them that satisfaction that they voted the way that they wanted to vote.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I don't think that there's necessarily a right answer. It's just coming up to with what we decide is the best answer at this point. You know, there's certain things on there that I would vote no for, but if given the lump sum, I vote yes, because most of them are things that I would support. So it's, you know, I definitely hear that. I think that that's it's totally valid. You know, I just don't. I don't want to count those votes ever again.
What's that?
I said, I just remember what the last year we did it, and it was 99 ballots. And it took hours to reconcile it. It just literally took hours. So. Okay, so we're still waiting mostly on a lot of, I mean, we've got plenty of time, so we're still waiting on most of them to come in.
Yeah, we'll make our community service appropriations from the 6th in December.
Okay. All right.
Pay them out, you know, the people who got voted, it passed, so we'll pay them.
Oh, good job.
And so our tax burden appears to be very much nicely in the 1% range, which is lovely. Okay. Any other last comments or questions about expenses, revenues, and community service?
Just a couple of comments to the board to consider, this is a comment. My understanding is that the road department does work 4 10-hour days year round. And I would like the board to consider if that's still. Especially if you're concerned about that in the winter months. By definition, then if it's a storm on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And I don't know that there's that much going on in winter time where it's 8-hour day, 5 days a week. Would make any difference on the work rate and you say,
Okay, thanks.
So can I say something about this? Because I've been thinking about this a lot since our last meeting when it was brought up. And the thing that I thought about the weekend thing is that, you know, most people use the weekend to spend time with their families and make plans. So is that fair of us to expect them to come into work weekends depending on the weather?
It'll be
To
mostly for
offset-
plowing.
Yeah.
I mean, for plowing,
Only.
yeah. Only for plowing.
Because I was thinking about.
Yeah. No, it's only for plowing.
But is that still fair of us?
That's part of
all
their,
the weather.
they have to
They still
plow the
have-
roads. That's one of their key.
Wait, but that's what I'm saying is like to switch it from,
4 10s to 5
Well,
8s.
yeah.
I mean, if they're working whatever, 6 to 4, Monday through Thursday, or whatever, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So you're saying that, you know, we know that on a Friday, if there's a snowstorm, it's still the first 8 hours would just still be regular pay versus all being overtime.
I think I asked this the other day and I was, correct me if I'm wrong, they will flex their time. If there's a storm coming Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they will take Monday and Tuesday off
For storms.
for storm.
Yeah.
Right,
So-
when they know they're plowing. They're not gonna work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for any other reason in the winter.
Does that happen or do they just take it as overtime?
Depends on how much plowing it is, how type of storm, like if they
Yeah.
can take shorter days on Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, knowing that there's a potential storm coming in on the weekend, they'll try to do that.
Okay.
But sometimes it's way more plowing than they were able to anticipate and then it
Yeah.
doesn't come all the time, so.
I've only been here December, through February, March, but they did do that quite a bit. They keep a weather eye out, and if they know that they're gonna come in at 2 a.m. to start plowing, or 3 a.m, they're gonna leave early.
Hmm.
And then they're gonna, or take a day off.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that being said, I mean, it's self-regulated, it's not the same thing, but they tried to do that.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to work 80 hours a week either, so.
Yeah, right.
Money doesn't necessarily make up for the fact that
Right.
crazy hours.
Ridiculous. Okay, Melissa?
I was gonna ask, because Ryan left, we wasn't. During the meeting, but did you guys, did you already decide on health insurance? How you were gonna deal with that? Then I'll get with those.
We have, I don't think we've made a final decision on it. I think that we had no. Trying to think back to,
The savings account, right?
I think,
They're gonna have-
I had proposed this, and I think that it was, you were gonna take it under consideration, I also remember the conversation. For the select board to talk about this and other issues with Rick.
during, yeah, so I think that we were gonna talk with Rick and Jeff, and then we're going to, I think it's a worthy conversation to have during a regular select board meeting before we make a final decision.
I didn't know if you were at the end of the budget process, so I thought maybe you already.
No, we have not. I mean, we're still kind of at the beginning. We're just lucky to have a nice, pretty relatively clean budget moving forward. And there's a lot of people to thank for that. So. Yes,
Are you still going to be having a budget meeting? Any more budget meetings, or is it going to be discussed at this level? I mean, because the numbers are going to be constantly changing between now and.
right. And so I mean, we hadn't had that conversation. We've had these two scheduled. I was thinking about this on my way here, thinking that maybe the next meeting would be a regular select board meeting and then look at all the numbers. And then if we need to have more budget meetings, we can still schedule a couple more. We still have time in November to schedule some.
I mean, because to me, it's totally different than what was last year.
Well, last year was a very unusual year. That is not how I mean, again, I've been doing this for 10 years and we had years where we did 2 of them and we went to go through and we would line item and we went through every line and we cut where we could cut and change things and it was really straightforward, and last year was not. And so it's nice to be kind of back in the regular, like this has been 8 of the 10 years that I've done this, 9 of the 10 years that I've done this has been like what we're looking at this year.
I think that, we're obviously waiting to see how a couple things are gonna turn out. December 1st is gonna be really important for the fire contract, and that's a pretty big number. So we won't have that. Health insurance needs to happen. A decision would need to be made even prior to the budget because the open enrollment only goes until January.
Yeah, I think, well, if we discuss it at the select board meeting, which is what, the 14th or something, 13th? No, I don't even know, whatever the Wednesday is. 15th, 14th, 13th, 12th, 11, 12, something like that.
Well,
The 12th.
And that, if that point, if we have that decision, then we still get plenty of time for the enrollment. And if we don't, then we have a couple weeks still before we have a crisis. And so I think it's important that we have the fire contract and the health insurances line items for the next agenda for the select board meeting.
Yeah, we won't, the 12th won't work for the fire contract only because the December 1st is an important date because the metric used to determine the fire contract So basically, we kind of need to know where Virgin thinks it's going to end up as a starting place to how can we go get better from there.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought we needed to have a decision.
No, so I'm saying after December, because after December first, I will be able to really, because, you know, there's already been, like, I've already worked with Virgin on it, and it's really, we need to kind of wait to see where it would have ended up, and then.
So we'll put that on the December
Yeah.
board meeting.
And obviously, you know, I will update you if anything changes.
Jamie,
Couple of items I'd like the board to consider. Like, the discussion about paying deductible, some sort of, most corporate, really, require some contribution to some of the employees. So I'd like to see some discussion around that. And outside of the healthcare, also retirement funds, I'm concerned about unfunded pension liabilities. I know this number is currently a year ago, and some considerable projected unfunded pension liability. One of the reasons for that, some of it's going to be unavoidable, population aging, people are having pensions, pension dollars, and pension fund levels. That is exacerbated the fact that we had a problem with insurance plan that is available through various municipalities. And maybe we should be looking at that to see if there is a way that we can limit some of this. Something that's going to hit our town at some point. If there is we can do something in some way, but it's an important discussion.
thank you.
I'm not see- What, is that a certain line that you saw this, or is it just in discussion?
So what he's referring to, and it's something that I've investigated now, and Melissa investigated, and she was treasurer, and a lot of things. So basically, Beamer's works like many pension systems work by people paying in, people collecting. And the goal is to have more people paying in than people collecting. And what Beamer's also takes that money and invests it, and they want a rate of return that is higher than the rate that is being taken out of Beamer's, you know, to be able to keep the fund, flush with cash, to be able to keep it, able to be used. As Jamie mentioned, what we find ourselves in as a state and as a country, really, we're seeing this with kind of everything, social security, there are fewer people paying in than they're collecting. We have an aging demographic of people, and we expect the amount of people to be collecting to go higher and higher. And basically, the unfunded pension liability is what would Payton be on the hook for if theoretically the system was unable to cover its expenses in terms of, like, what has Payton agreed to pay for its pensions, for its employee pensions? And what if the Beamer's fund can't cover that expense? They're gonna come back to the towns that have participated in this, and they're going to say to them, well, you're on the hook for, the last number that we had was 165,000 or somewhere in that neighborhood. And it grows every year, because that's just, what we'd be on the hook for in terms of what we owe to our pensioners when they decide to start collecting. While it's a serious concern, the problem is nobody at the state is even talking about it. You can't get an answer out of anybody about this. They're, anecdotally speaking, their feeling on it is if that were to happen, the state would be in a lot more financial hot water than simply pensioners not being paid out of Beamer's if the pension system collapsed.
So how much do we donate to their pension fund now?
So currently the town, the pension system that we have is called Group C. And you can find that if we want to take the highway, for instance, the highway retirement, which is, not sure the lines with my.
185.
And 185. That number is 9.25%. So the employees pay 12.75% or excuse me, 12% of their gross pay into the pension system. And the town contributes 9.25% of their gross pay into the pension system. We pay that into Beamers quarterly, with every paycheck, really, it calculates at every paycheck. And so, that is the portion that the town contributes every year to Beamers for the pension system. The employees contribute as well. But if you look at over time, what the town would owe if the pension needed to be paid out, it continues to grow, the liability for the town. And in our financial statements, our auditors deal with this, because as auditors, they come in and they say, well, what if the town is on the hook for, what is the town on the hook for, basically? And the town is on the hook, and you can read this in our financial statement, I can send it to the board, they do a big long section on Beamers, and they include in there what the unfunded pension liability is. And that is like like I said, $160,000.
So do most other towns offer pensions for their employees?
Many towns are participating in the Beamer system, yes. Yeah, many towns, in fact,
And is
no.
that,
towns-
like, what is the difference between the pension fund and like a Roth or is one safer than the other, or not? I mean, I don't,
So a Beamers is like a teacher retirement, right? It's where you're paying in and it's a big system that's supporting-ish itself, like right now I know that the teaching retirement structure is also dealing with lots of unfunded pensions, right? So it's just it's like a group investment versus people being on the hook for investing themselves. And it's kind of like, it's like a municipal, Beamers is a municipal employee retirement program. It's like a teacher retirement or any other, like municipal retirement plan. Like public servants, yes.
Just one point, for person just for completeness. Most industries no longer offer these defined benefit pension plans.
Okay.
If you went to look at Collins or Simmons, whatever you want to call it, it's what all of the industry has gone to a Roth.
right, and then they match,
And they match, or they give you a base plus a match, or some.
because it's a safer and in a longer run. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It also, you're in charge of your IRA. You have somebody else invested in whatever state of law. They have their investors, and you have them real estate. And using they have invested in every year, and they're not getting the numbers. So the difference between what they're not getting the numbers on, you're like, sounds like. So that keeps growing every year, you're not getting 7%. So that it comes back on the tax from.
And you said that we contribute to that or something?
Yeah, I mean, if an
I mean,
employee.
that's a lot.
An employee makes $100, we contribute $9 a quarter.
I mean,
But
We
the
have to
employee,
participate
but the
in this.
employee contributes 12.
right, but you can't choose your amount? I know that, like, well,
So Beamers offers defined levels. Currently, we're level C, which is, it's the highest contributions, but it's also the best benefit for the employee. Level C, the payout can start as early as 55. It can be 60% in your best 3 years. 60% of your best 3. Yeah, I think it's 60% of your best 3, and that's what you can collect. You need to put in 5 years.
But if the system's failing,
Well, it's not failing,
not-
it's teetering, it's not failing.
I mean, I guess,
I'm just looking at, not,
As somebody
We offer a
who's-
really nice package.
we do, and,
12% for us contributing is a lot. Like my
No, they're-
husband,
we're-
or 9, even
I
nine,
mean-
my husband gets like 3% from his employee.
yeah, and again, I'm just speaking to it as somebody, as a municipal employee, and knowing people who have different opinions, the, um, the thing that's people like about municipal employee style retirement funds, which again, I agree are less in, less common now, but still really common in education, state employees, all of that, is that there's a lot of people who don't want to be in control. They just want to, the money
Just
gets
want taken
taken,
care
they
of.
just
They don't
want
wanna
it to
think
be
about it.
there, and
Yeah.
they don't want to think about it. They don't want to have to manage it themselves, rightly or wrongly. That's just the, a lot of people like that type of retirement system, so they don't have to worry about it.
This, ah,
This right here. That's how much we
that's what we're
contribute.
contributing just for pensions,
Yes,
Just for the highway.
just for highway pension.
right, just for 2 people.
Correct.
Mine half. So add half of that again.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
I mean, do you think we should look at the other options, A and B?
Sure.
We're in budgeting season, so.
Are we forced to participate in one, A, B, or C?
You're not forced to participate in any special level. The employees, if one employee has it. If one employee has it, theoretically, all the employees need to have it. If they work over a set number of hours, there is a way for employees to opt out if the town provides a reasonable alternative.
I mean, are they happy contributing 12% of their, pay?
Rick has been paying into the system for 20 years.
Okay.
But Rick's plan, sorry, and
And Jeff's been paying into the system for 20 years because it also goes from job to job.
Right.
So other organizations.
Oh, transferable,
This particular,
right,
like.
because he came from
It doesn't
water
matter
development.
if we're not,
But
but,
he-
but
yeah.
if he moves to a job that doesn't have this municipal program.
Then he would not be able to contribute, but because he's been a municipal employee, no matter where he's working, it's all the
Okay.
same
So
municipal
they've both been
employee.
paying into the system for 20 years.
Gotcha.
Yes, Melissa, that's okay.
So I think I retired because I think Canton got onto the system, but we were at the very lowest. It was 4%, before you paid 4%. And that one has, you have to work for 20 years, to be 65 or 62 before you can, and that's what Rick's been on. He's been on that lowest plan.
Oh, it's just eventually gone up.
Yeah, we get a pension money, to split sheet from 20 to this newer higher plan was down like $5,000 or whatever, and now it's up to. So, when they jumped to the new one in 2020, then now, yeah, everybody's in this higher one, where you can retire for 5 years. If you want, you only have to wait 5 years. So, yeah, it's a pretty nice plan.
Okay. Certainly, we can be open to looking at the other options. and-
Yeah, just as somebody
No,
who has like, I want to see what else.
yeah, no, I think it's a completely reasonable question, and it's certainly something we'd have a conversation with Jeff and, Kyle and, Rick about. Mary?
I just wanted consideration for in the future. You could look at more of a raw defined contribution.
That's what I'm thinking.
The people that are grandfathered in, doesn't change, but it might be worth looking at it. The more typical plan for any new hires.
Another question? No, it's okay, this is the time.
That the town would cover. That in addition, if you were to do that, 2 things, right now, I think the plan has a 1,600.
6,400 paying. Oh, you're right, no, 3,200, sorry. Yeah, yeah.
So currently, they have the plan and then maximum. If you go to the 12,000, all of their out of pocket, they just gained another benefit for the 200. Just so you know what the numbers are, I'm just a numbers person. So they're getting another benefit for $200 plus with their health, fire, health reimbursement plan. They can, all the deductibles for them, all for the as well as if you use eyeglasses. And, so it's not, yeah, it's a health reimbursement, it's not a medical.
You can set it up and then it says medical only. If you have if you offer something health insurance, pretty sure Health Equity will also only do it for prescribed pharmaceutical and medical related diseases that are covered under the plan.
Make sure. It can be both.
Yeah,
It can be both, I wasn't sure which.
Yeah, no, it can be both, yeah, they have one that's just medical and pharmaceutical. So drug costs associated with the, what the claim. Not high division more than.
So that's just another thing.
But aren't we paying?
I mean, there's so many options that I would.
So I
Right.
think what they're saying is if we go to the $12,000 deductible that the town would cover, we're still saving. We're still saving $10,000 basically per person. But the employee is getting $3,200 more because they don't have to pay a deductible.
Nice catch.
I think of the school district, when they're deciding on which they benefits, they have a committee that comes together and they work to see what might be the best packages, but we're not really doing that. And I'm not meaning to be mean, I'm talking about due diligence, but you're hearing from Kyle the options, and I know it's ethical, I trust him and all that stuff, but he also has his community. So I just think that you should be looking at the plans, for the other employees and also, you know, all the like 10 options there are from the end of the community. And then putting together the packages to see, you know, what the numbers are.
But all of this has to be done by January.
Yeah, but we can, I mean, we actually have to do it before then because we have to enroll in
Right.
the middle of
We don't-
December by then.
We have time to.
No, I
do
mean,
that.
we can look at, I mean, we can certainly schedule another meeting to look at specific health insurance plans. If that's what the board decides, right? We can sit down and have a meeting that's specific just to health insurance.
Yeah, the other thing that concerns me is employees participating in these discussions. I certainly don't get to have a conversation with my employer about what benefits are offered to me as an employee.
Right, you get the benefits and that is it.
I'm not saying that we necessarily need to go that route, but I think we need to take business and emotion separately. That's my perspective on it.
Okay. Other questions that people have? Yes.
This is a really hard conversation to have about. And so I hope I'm coming across as not trying to sabotage anybody or, I just, it's a huge part of our budget. I think.
I appreciate you explaining things to me because I am not offered benefits through my job. So I don't understand how all of the common, I mean, my husband's not offered benefits. So for me, this is good education about what other people are offering and what your different options are.
I just think that I think there's ways for us to save. I also think that we need to be really mindful of the fact that keeping employees that are well-trained and know what they're doing is also has to be on the table. Right? If we go slashing benefit packages, and I'm not saying we are or we're not, but we have to keep that in mind that one of the ways you retain employees is, and we have 3. right? We have three. It's not, you know, it's not like working at a big corporation where they don't actually care whether or not you stay or go, because they'll put out a flyer and hire somebody new, not you, I'm sure they will have to stay or go, but I'm just saying
Well,
that
drag me
it's,
back, so,
it's
yeah.
a little bit, it's a little bit of an
Yeah.
untenable situation. Yeah. Because we have such a small set of employees, and also that the benefits package matters. I mean, it's a huge part of it. And so I think that I think it makes the conversation more complicated. That's all.
Absolutely, I think
You
that,
know,
yeah, when you're doing it that way, you have to weigh what's the best interest of the town and the employee, right, and retention.
I mean, I remember when I was working at Virgin's and we were in negotiations, and I said, I would rather get no raise and keep all my benefits, because we'll never get those benefits back. And we didn't. You know, we got a little raise and they slashed the benefits, and we ended up, it was a net loss for teachers, because I knew that once those benefits were gone, they were never coming back.
No, benefits
So-
are huge.
Right, and because we're tiny, it just makes it harder, I think. Okay, Kathy?
I think it's a good conversation to have, but maybe even have some sort of conversation game plan. You never know when you're gonna have to have a new employee. I mean, for whatever reason, you know, you might have to, but if you had this conversation kind of ahead of time and think, well, you know, it's a new hire, we're gonna.
Yeah.
Change things a little bit or whatever. And I just think it'd be good to have the
Yeah.
conversation, to have a little game plan.
Thank you. Melissa?
I think I think where the sore spot is for the people on the other side of the table is that it feels like the people who are paying the taxes for the employees, they have the benefits, don't have. the benefits. And so, there's a.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's another thing, you know, we're paying competitive wages now. It's one thing to offer benefits when wages are low. You've got pension, you've got medical, decent wages, but the whole thing has to be considered as a factor.
Okay, thank you, everybody. That's really helpful. Shall we move on to the reserve funds? If anybody's done with those questions? Okay. Hello, I'm not going to drive this bus, because even though I kind of know about it, I still have PTSD from the meeting, so.
Sorry, what?
I said a little PTSD from the meetings. From the reserve fund meetings.
Well, this should go. I think that the end results of the conversations were pretty productive. I mean, I wanted to come to the select board and say, these all have to be voted on by them. So these are all things that are going to appear on the ballot. So these are, the Reserve Fund Planning Committee met multiple times with the goal of how can we change the way that our reserve funds work for us and also what they mean. The problem was we have a number of reserve funds in the town. They didn't have very clear definitions. They weren't really laid out and what to do. They had varying amounts of money with no plan and no budget. And that made obviously the taxpayers concerned, but also the select board was left kind of in the dark about these things. Yeah, we have them, but what's the reason for? We have statutory limitations, things like that. So the goal, and one of the first things that the committee did, I think it was probably the best work, was the creation of definitions. And I feel like these definitions are pretty good. I feel like they encapsulate the discussions, and I feel like they are also good representations of what the reserve fund should do. So to just start from the top and just go through it, there's two different types of funds in the town. There are voter created reserve funds, which can only be, with money can only be spent by the select board for their designated purpose. Money can only go into them by the voters, and they have to be created, destroyed, or otherwise amended by the voters. And then there are what are called special revenue funds. Special revenue funds are set up usually by the state, and they have a special source of revenue. So the two special revenue funds in the town of Canton are the Restoration and Preservation Special Revenue Fund and the Arnold Bay Special Revenue Fund. The Restoration and Preservation special revenue fund is funded from $4 out of every reported document, goes into its own little account. That is to be used to offset books, recording instruments, the new shelving I'm getting delivered tomorrow for the vault, all the things that we need to do. It's funded by that. In years past, there has been money appropriated by the town to put into it. That's not gonna happen again because we need it. We get, for the amount of stuff we go through, we get plenty of funds.
So you're happy with the $4?
I'm very happy with it. It's like an $11,000 balance. My shelves, which are the last shelves that are ever gonna fit in that vault, were 1,000. And then the books we just bought were 300. So I mean, and we have 2 new books that are gonna last us the next 2 years. So I mean, we need ink and stamps and things like that, but it's small potatoes. We get $4 out of every reported transaction. The second is the Arnold Bay Special Revenue Fund. That was funded primarily through donations. Folks donated to the town, to be able to do that. Obviously, a donation campaign hasn't really happened since then, and so the Arnold Bay Special Revenue Fund has about $1,000 left in it. Of that $1,000, we've been spending some of it. We bought picnic tables for Arnold Bay this year, a couple other things. We actually just got a new ramp. We bought the aluminum, but the welding was donated to us, and we're gonna have a new ramp out to the docks, which is really good, because before it was that single 2x6, and that was no good. So that fund is $1,000 in it. We're gonna probably try and exhaust that fund basically, and then just say, thank you very much for the donations. And we have that big grant coming from us today as well. So thank you very much. We have a great place, it's a public use area, and these donations have gone into creating a
Do you think that it's beneficial to always have something kind of up that we will accept donations for Arnold Bay?
Sure.
I mean, that maybe
don't-
somebody's feeling generous and wants to,
I don't want to,
$300.
I don't love the idea of having to manage that financially,
Okay.
only because okay, if the revenue fund goes away, we have to establish another one, we have to track the donations, we have to be very kind of careful.
Okay.
And it's not an impossibility, it's, if someone wants to donate to the town, I'm gonna say no,
I mean, if it's more.
but I would prefer you donate in kind.
Okay.
Labor is more important than money when it comes to this thing that you can do for the town. We planted all those trees.
Yeah.
And we had 2 volunteers, we have a bunch of stuff coming up for this other grants, no volunteers, so labor is more important. The reserve funds, so the reserve funds have been created or, and amended by voters. Reappraisal fund currently doesn't have a definition beyond just kind of the very basic, it was a reappraisal fund used to help pay for costs, it wasn't like specifically. This would be, these definitions would go into the policy book and maybe front and center and we'd say, reappraisal revenue fund shall be used to offset expenses related to town reappraisals. Okay. And select board would have pretty clear guidance for the select board, and that's the goal of this, was to provide clear guidance. The digitization and IT fund shall become digitization fund and shall be used to offset the cost of digitizing town records and a lot of these funds grew over the years in their scope, and the kind of consensus among folks was, if we need to buy something, it should be budgeted. It should be put into a budget line item for the next year. Now, I mean, we did just take advantage of this fund that we had to replace the computer for the assistant clerk. So this fund carried the weight of that. Digitizing town records, we have records going back to 1700 that I'd like to see digitized. The fund has don't have the fund balance in front of me, but it has.
14,885 is what's on here.
And, so the fund has money in it, spend it to digitize the town records and then just not gonna put any more money into it. Once we've gone back to 1700s, we're now keeping up, and so we don't have to wait.
Right.
The tire reserve fund, this was a bit more complicated, but it's all depends. Rick is somewhat supportive of this idea. The tire reserve fund should be retired, and then all remaining funds reallocated to the highway capital improvement. Basically, the idea that tires are a known purchase, and we saw that in the budget. There's a line item for tires. We know what we want to purchase for tires for vehicles in a given year. We all think we should budget for blowouts. A couple tires blow out, irreparable damage that we can't solve. Budget for that, and then just eliminate the tire fund. The emergency reserve fund. So the emergency reserve fund actually has the most clear definition out of any of the funds right now. And this proposed definition builds on what already kind of exists. That the fund shall be used to offset expenses for non-recurring, unanticipated, catastrophic events and issues outside of the control of the town. This fund is not intended to cover no normal budgetary expenditures, overruns, or unanticipated revenue shortfalls. The proposed definition here increases it from 7 to 10% of the total operating budget, and then it defines what total operating budget is, because that's also not in the current definition. And so that would be the total operating budget to be raised by taxes, excluding appropriations to community organizations, special revenue reserve. The town building improvement reserve fund shall be used for the renovations and upgrades of any town building, including major repairs that extend the useful life of the building, such as roof replacements, HVAC system overhauls, or structural enhancements. This fund shall not be used for routine upkeep and minor repairs that are part of regular or annual town building maintenance budgets. The town hall and the town garage both have a regular budget that would deal with those expenses, and this would be for the big projects. The additional line item for the ballot, currently this fund has like $100,000 in it. 90,000 of this fund should be transferred to the highway capital. The highway capital equipment fund, reserve fund shall be used to purchase or offset the purchase or perform major repairs to extend the useful life of capital equipment. For the purpose of this fund, capital equipment shall mean items with a replacement cost exceeding $5,000 and a useful life of more than 3 years. So huge repairs or purchases of new big capital equipment, not pressure lines. And the capital project fund, this one was a bit more contentious. My personal opinion is a little different than what I deferred to the other folks in the group, because I do think that it has some value, that the project fund should be used to define what the project fund shall become. It shall be used for the planning, design, construction, and major rehabilitation of long-term highway infrastructure, including road expansions, bridges, and safety enhancements. The purpose of this fund is for planned projects and does not include paving or repavement. Basically, kind of limiting that idea. Additional item for the ballot is to transfer all but $100 from this fund, meaning basically the fund is there but not funded, and use the money to pay down the Melvin Community Bank loan taken for purchasing the 2024 International, with any remaining funds to be transferred to the highway capital fund. So taken in total, the third page of this, which is just the mock-up of what if these things happen? Again, these are voter, if the voters approve the various and sundry line items here. So what does that look like? We retire 2 funds, basically. We raise one to 10% of the operating budget. So it goes from about $57,000 to about $1,000. Right now, the highway equipment fund goes to $159,000. And basically the community bank loan gets paid off. The MELF loan is reduced to $51,970.
So as somebody who was I don't know if I was a participant more, I was more of an observer, like morally with questions versus valuable input. The one that just keeps sticking in my head as the capital project fund, and this is just my observation, just that all I can think of is that bridge project. There's a bridge project out there that's just hugely intimidating. I don't even know, I can't remember how many
One bridge we
have, the re-bridging of it, replacement of it is terrifyingly expensive.
So the one thing that got me over the hump on this particular fund is that, and this was brought up by Melissa and others, is that, when you create reserve funds and you fund reserve funds to offset future expenditure, you're asking taxpayers of the past to pay for things that they may not enjoy. When you assume debt to pay for things or bond for something, you're actually asking the current taxpayers to contribute to something they are currently enjoying. it's an interesting way of thinking about it. Obviously, it's not perfect comparison because, it might have been a small amount of time and all those things.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's a
But
great point.
for the bridge, I mean, it would be beyond our capacity if we were looking to replace it in about 30 years, which is theoretical lifespan of what we have left on it, we're talking millions of dollars, and we wouldn't be able to raise nearly enough money from taxes alone. We'd be looking to bond for this issue anyways, and basically take out, issue a bond, then based on our grand spec. So,
Another way to look at it too is the people that are using the bridge today are the ones that are wearing it out. And should be
that's true.
contributing.
One of the things that I had discussed was keeping the project fund, funding it at a very small level, but very evenly across the years, and that's one of the things that I part of this. With the definitions, I think the concern amongst the taxpayers who brought this up in the first place was that definitions being so nebulous or non-existent was that the fund became piggy banks to be rated at every opportunity, which has not necessarily been the case. But,
So we wouldn't get with the bridge project, we wouldn't get help from the state. I mean,
No.
because think about the tear that's coming on that bridge from Bearsburg Farmers.
Yeah,
You know?
it's not, it's a town road.
Yeah.
The town
Town.
bridge.
state doesn't help. The state does a free inspection for us.
They'll come and tell us that it needs to be replaced.
Every 2 years, they do an inspection. And so far, our bridge it's in moderate condition. It's in halfway decent shape, literally halfway. It's about 50 to 60%.
After field work is done, Rick will wash it, like he will be under the bridge and wash it.
And Coach Lindsay though,
He does fantastic maintenance. for
He
that
is,
bridge.
he is.
and he's done it for years, which is one of the reasons that the concrete is relative to the condition of other
He's
things.
done like the up slopes, down slopes.
I mean, these are items where the basic reserve fund, basically these definitions and things like that, they're not for the select board's approval, obviously, they're for the voters.
Right.
But the select board can smooth the way, so to speak, by deciding to include them.
Yeah.
Without the need for folks to bring a petition. And that was the goal, was to come to the select board and say, we're bringing you a set of definitions, a set of proposals, and we'd like to see them on top, as reasonable as. I love the idea of eliminating the community bank loan early. I am personal.
There's no current bridge fund,
You have the highway project fund.
so that's
Where it would be.
Yeah, but the highway project fund is.
But then that goes away. Right.
And, yeah,
Sure.
so the highway, capital project fund was never meant for the bridge. Originally, when it was put together, that was when I was treasurer. It was put together as, the budget, we used to get the grant, paving roads every 3 years. And, we wanted to have money set aside for the roads that the grants weren't covering. And to have enough money so that when we got the big grant, we had some money sitting back. Because the way it was, $50,000. But then we decided that we, didn't want to pay or not pay as much. That money then was just an overage in the account. And you have to go get 80,000 the next year. It was a way to put it away so that when there was big money, grant came, we had the money to match and do all that. So that was, that fund was being set up. And then I think we could be like, for culverts and that's. And that was the goal that Rick wanted to do.
So should we do like a discussion, have it be an agenda item in November on the regular November select board meeting? And then we can have it as an action item to take a vote. So whether or not we want to put this on the ballot.
Yeah.
And that way we have we have a chance to think about it, and then, whoever's at the select board will also have an opportunity to ask questions and give comment. Yes. Okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
so let's do that. And then hopefully Zach will not be sick. And he can come.
the November.
Well, yeah, the November one. Okay. Any last questions or comments?
Kind of the full scope of all thinking and drafting that we've done about the budget and the reserve funds now. Go for now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anybody else, I make a motion to adjourn. Oh, we have an executive session, sorry.
All right.
You guys have a nice night.
Have a good night.
Discuss contracts. Contract that it would make difficult, premature general public knowledge of contracts, non-HR.
It's not about employees.
Premature general public knowledge of contracts will oftentimes give an advantage to those who are looking to discuss it, like negotiation.
I think like you're having a lot of executive sessions.
I mean, it's unfortunate that there's a lot of things that need sensitive negotiations.
You wanna pause?
That's what the making motion.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for him to pause.
Just follow APA and
Make a motion to go into executive session.
I do.
A second.
All in favor?
No, you gotta do the thing you're doing last time.
Make a motion to go into executive session to make a specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body at a substantial disadvantage. And after such fighting, we will enter executive session to discuss contracts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So technically you make the motion and then you make the findings or do you?
I would like to state that there was no action taken. Motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No action taken.
We'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:26.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I really want Zach to come back and do his damn job, so I don't have to do it anymore.